Hello, welcome to BM6611 Managing Brands. Our topic today is choosing brand elements to build brand equity, part 1. In part 1, we will look at the range of brand elements such as names and slogans that are available to brand managers to construct their brands and bring them to life for the customers. And then in the second video, part 2, we will look at the criteria that brand elements need to meet in order to be successful. The compulsory reading for this topic is Keller 2005 Branding Shortcuts. That was published in Marketing Management. And there are 2 additional readings if you want more depth and more detail on the subject of brand elements. And these readings cover both parts of the topic, the part in this video and the part in the second video, part 2. So on this slide, you can see the list of brand elements, the different brand elements that are available to brand managers when they want to construct a brand. Obviously, there's a name. That's the fundamental starting point to identify the product or service and to differentiate it from others in the market. Then increasingly important is the URL, the web address for the brand. A logo is a visual device so that the brand can be visually recognized without the need for words or sounds. And then there are other brand elements such as brand symbol, character, slogan, jingle, and brand packaging. And we'll look at each of these in turn. Before we do though, let's look at brand elements all coming together. Here we have the example of Andrex toilet tissue. And you can see some of the elements that I've just described on the previous slide coming to life here. We have a brand name, Andrex. We have a brand character, a golden Labrador puppy. We have a slogan, tuggable, huggable softness. We have various visual devices that you can see here. A particular type of font has been used, particular colours, blue to look a bit like the sky with clouds, and white and then a darker blue. Everything is very curvy and soft and rounded. There are no angular lines here, no angular hard shapes, and there are soft colours. And so all of these brand elements come together to create an image of softness. And that is repeated in the brand slogan, tuggable, huggable softness. The choice of the words in the slogan, tuggable, huggable, is also very deliberate and not accidental. There is repetition of the G consonants. The words rhyme, tuggable and huggable. Tugging relates to pulling the toilet tissue off the roll. Hugging makes you think of softness. So every single brand element here has been constructed with great care and attention to detail to provide a unified image of softness. And the Labrador puppy also, the brand character, can appear in advertising. And over the years, many puppies have been used because obviously they grow up and they don't stay soft and young and small and cuddly like that forever. But having a brand character is a very adaptable sort of brand element, and they can be used in all kinds of marketing communications. Let's think a bit more now about this all-important brand name and the functions that the brand name performs. As I said already, the primary function of a brand name is to identify the company. It may be a corporate brand like British Airways or American Airlines or BNP Paribas or HSBC. So it identifies the company or an individual product like Andrex toilet tissue as unique. Nobody else has that name. So it is differentiated from all the others in the market. It's distinctive. It stands out. Ideally, brand names should be easy to pronounce and easy to spell. And there have been circumstances where brand names have been changed to make them easier to pronounce as the brand is becoming increasingly global, because different cultures and languages, we don't necessarily all pronounce individual letters of the alphabet in the same way. And so finding a name that everybody can pronounce easily and recognize easily is generally advantageous for global brands. So the brand Jif, J-I-F, cream cleanser, it's a household cleaning product, became Cif, C-I-F, because the letter J is not pronounced in a uniform way across the world. In some countries it's a Y or a H. So Jif became Cif. Ideally, the brand name will also describe something about the company or the core benefit or value that is offered to the customer. So an example there would be budget car rental. It competes with Avis and Hertz and Sixt and all the other car rental companies, but the brand name gives you a very clear indication that this is going to be a cheaper option. You might not get all the frills, all the functionality, all the service add-ons that you would get with, for example, Hertz, but you will get a cheaper price with budget car rental. Very importantly, brand names can be protected in law. They can be trademarked and nobody else can use them. And that offers a really important barrier to competition. Nobody can copy, nobody can pretend to be you. And if indeed someone does copy your name, you can take that organisation, that copycat person, to a court of law and have that stopped. So there is a protection against the brand name being misused by anyone else. Brand names are also an intangible asset, an equity that organisations own, and an equity that can be traded. They can be used around the world in a wide range of situations and settings. They can be bought and sold. They can be licensed. And we'll look at that a little later in the module. But a brand name is a valuable asset which can be bought and sold on the market, licensed for monetary gain, to bring revenue into organisations, just as tangible assets can be traded. So you can think, really, to sum all of this up, that the critical function of the brand name is to create and sustain brand awareness. And the more simple and straightforward and easy to pronounce and meaningful the brand name is in relation to the product, the more that awareness will be supported. But also, brand names must ideally provide an emotional or a hedonic benefit and value. They must make the customer feel good in some subjective sense. So there must be some kind of meanings that consumers are able to extract from the brand name. And the more easily that is done, the better. So an example there would be EasyJet. The easy part makes us think, oh, travel is going to be easy when we go with EasyJet. Whether indeed it is or not is perhaps not the point, but the name certainly conjures up the meaning and a feel-good sense of ease. And as a result, it also reinforces a very important attribute or benefit or value that is part of the brand's positioning. And so not only do brand names create and build and sustain brand awareness, they also allow brand associations to be constructed and communicated to the customer. Creating brand names is not as straightforward as you might think. And indeed, a great deal of time and effort and thought and money goes into the creation of brand names. And that is only right and proper, because you can't go changing the name of a brand each time you think, oh, that maybe wasn't as good as it could be. Let's have another name. A brand name is something that once you've created it, you only change if you absolutely have to, because you've invested time and effort and money in associating yourself with that name, and you have to then undo those associations and create new ones. So it's much better to get the best possible brand name in the first place. And the starting point is really what the brand is all about, what the underlying product or service is all about, and its positioning, the values that it is going to deliver to the customer, the characteristics of the brand. Is it a heritage brand? Is it a very high-tech, modern brand? Is it a fun brand? Is it for children? Who's the target market? And this will identify a number of themes around which brand names can be considered. The creation process usually starts with some kind of brainstorming exercise, and that can be done by people coming together, perhaps even customers becoming involved and suggesting ideas for names, or it could be done artificially and automatically using computer software where random names are generated, and in consideration of those, suitable candidates might be found. You do need inspiration though, it's a creative process. And then a short list of possible names would be put forward for testing. That's usually done in something like a focus group, a qualitative market research technique that allows people to provide in-depth, quite rich feedback on names. What they like, what they don't like, what the name conjures up, the image that it suggests to them. Is it easy to pronounce? Does it sound like anything else? Is it distinctive? And once the testing process has been completed, there may only be one obvious candidate, or there may be still a smaller shortlist, some names eliminated, others going forward, and further testing might be required. What makes for a good brand name is actually underpinned by linguistic science. Things like alliteration, assonance, consonants, rhyming forms, onomatopoeia, etc. We looked at alliteration and rhyming with Andrex with our tuggable, huggable softness. Onomatopoeia is where a word sounds like or gives an impression of what the product is. So an example there would be the soft carbonated soft drinks brand Schweppes, where the schw at the beginning sounds like opening the top of a bottle of carbonated drinks, where you get that sudden little rush of carbon dioxide. So although most of us are not skilled in linguistic science, we know when something sounds right, we know when something sounds exciting or interesting or memorable, and the reasons why some certain sounds stick in our mind are underpinned by these various linguistic scientific theories. There are specialist agencies such as Landor and Nomen who make their business helping organisations to find brand names, and indeed will do the full creation process for an organisation. The name needs to last, so take care in choosing. However, sometimes you really do need to change a brand name, and there can be very real, very profound circumstances that cause that need for change. For example, a word in the brand name can go out of fashion, or even worse, can over time have damaging associations. What started off as a fairly positive association over time becomes not just neutral or slightly negative, but profoundly damaging. So, for example, Kentucky Fried Chicken never use the full name now. They've abbreviated themselves to KFC because the word fried has such negative connotations in terms of healthcare. The Spastic Society, which raises money for people with cerebral palsy, changed its name some time ago to Scope because the word spastic, which used to be the term used to describe people with cerebral palsy, became socially unacceptable. Sometimes organisations change their name to dodge, if you like, negative publicity, or to deflect negative publicity. Monsanto who are involved with genetically modified crops, which there is a strong anti-GM lobby in many parts of the world, and Monsanto came in for a great deal of criticism and worse, in fact. Some of their premises were targeted, and some of their employees have been targeted, so they changed their name. And after the Enron accounting scandal many years ago, Arthur Andersen were the accountants, and the management consulting arm of that organisation, Andersen Consulting, changed its name to Accenture to distance itself from that scandal. Sometimes you want to change your name because you think that will help you to reposition your brand. Pizza Hut had an unsuccessful change of name to Pasta Hut when they tried to reposition themselves as more than just a pizza restaurant, but it didn't work with customers, and so they reverted to the Pizza Hut name. In the UK, the Royal Mail had a very short-term and also unsuccessful change of name to Consignia to broaden itself, to remove associations of being purely British, etc. But again, it was not successful with customers, and so they reverted back to the original name. Sometimes a brand name limits an organisation's possibilities to grow, to diversify, to extend the brand into new markets, new sectors, new product categories. An example here would be United Aircraft, a company based in the USA that started its life manufacturing parts and providing services for aircraft, but over time diversified its business into a wide range of sectors, and so changed the name to United Technologies. And there can be lots of other reasons why brand names have to change. Sometimes companies merge or acquire a brand, and so they want to bring the brand into the main company stable. So Norwich Union became Aviva. Unilever was created out of the merger a long time ago of two organisations with different names. I've already mentioned earlier in this video that Jif changed its name to Cif, and for global consistency, we have had other brands that have changed their names. And then sometimes there are difficulties in pronouncing names in other languages. An example there would be the Toyota MR2, which when pronounced in French as MR2, sounded awfully like something that isn't very nice, and so the name of the car was changed. Let's look now at logos and symbols. These play a critical role in building brand awareness. Very important because they don't require any words, any vocabulary, just a very strong visual identifier of the brand. And so they play a critical role in building and supporting brand equity. And here is an example of a brand logo for the insurance company Legal & General. Logos can range widely from simply a corporate name or a trademark, which might be written in a distinctive form, all the way through to completely abstract designs that may be unrelated to the organisation, to the name, to the word, etc. Like a brand name, the decision to change a brand logo should not be undertaken lightly because it's very costly, it's very time consuming, and there's absolutely no guarantee that a new logo will solve an organisation's problems. It can often be a fairly sort of knee-jerk reaction to a brand maybe seeming a little bit sales going down, customer satisfaction going down. Oh, we need to modernise, let's change the logo. Now, our little example at the top there, Legal & General, if we just go back to that for a minute, it illustrates the power of a logo to convey associations. Legal & General is an insurance company. The words Legal & General don't really mean very much at all, very boring really. And what do we want from an insurance company? We want to be covered, we want to be protected. And that's what the umbrella signifies. So that little visual umbrella device used with the words legal and general transforms what could be just a name, a rather not very memorable name at all, and not necessarily a very meaningful name, into something much more memorable, more meaningful, and therefore builds brand awareness, gives meaning, and builds brand equity. So going back to changing brand logos, you can click through in your own time afterwards to read more about what happened when Gap wanted to change their logo. The logo on the right was the original logo. The logo on the left was their new logo that they created. And there was an immediate backlash from customers who said it looked cheap, it looked homemade, it looked like somebody had just worked it up themselves on Microsoft Word. Nobody liked it. And so very quickly Gap had to revert to their original logo. And that caused a great deal of difficulty for Gap. There was a negative publicity, customers were upset. There was the time, the cost and the money in refitting storefronts, etc. So it was a very, very bad decision to change the logo without testing it properly first. And then they would have realized that it was not going to be popular. Volvo also changed their logo from simply the name on its own to the name inside a sort of almost 3D looking containment circle, which looks strong, metallic, etc. And this is absolutely why Volvo changed the logo. They added the circular device to promote strength, to promote the strength of the vehicles, the way they protect the driver and the passengers. So the logo change here is all about signifying a particular aspect of the brand's identity and making sure that that is communicated clearly to the customer. Sometimes logos have hidden meanings. Graphic designers are extremely skilled, and they can use what's called negative space to add meaning to a logo, and you have to just look at it a little bit to figure out what's going on. So you can see here, because it's highlighted in the bottom version, that we've actually got an arrow between the E and the X of FedEx, and that arrow signifies movement. And obviously that's what FedEx is all about, moving stuff around the world quickly and efficiently and safely. And if you click on this hyperlink in your own time, you will be able to explore some more brand logos that have hidden meanings, and bring your thoughts on these and the skill that has been used in the logo designer and the clever things that they've been able to do. Bring your thoughts to our next class session. Here's an illustration really of the power of a logo. Logos don't need words, and so they translate and transfer across countries, across cultures more easily than brand names. So we can't necessarily all read Russian Cyrillic script and know that the word in the middle there is McDonald's in Russian, but we can certainly see the golden arches. We can see those from a long distance away. So if we're traveling in a foreign country, we can easily find our McDonald's without having to read the word in a foreign language. Let's move on now to look at brand characters. These are a very special type of brand symbol, ones that takes on the human or animal characteristics, some kind of real life characteristics. Very often they're animated or live action figures, although sometimes real people come into to create brand characters. But most of the time they're animated in some way or another. They can play a very, very active role as a brand element. They can appear in advertising, they can appear in other merchandising, they can appear in sales promotions, they can be used very widely and to bring the brand to life, and sometimes they become quite famous. There are some examples on this slide. We have the M&Ms, we have Tony the Tiger, who's the brand character of Kellogg's Frosties breakfast cereal, and then on the right we have the meerkats, who have become a family when they are the brand characters of comparethemarket.com, which is an insurance aggregator, a website that people use to get quotes for car insurance or pet insurance or home contents insurance from a wide range of different insurance providers. Comparethemarket.com is not a brand name that trips off the tongue very easily. And so with a play on words, market, meerkat, a meerkat was used as a brand character. And over time, the main meerkat has a family. So all of these different characters now can be used in competitions, in merchandising, to build and sustain relationships with the customer. Let's think now about our next brand element, the slogan. A slogan is a short phrase that is used externally with customers in marketing communications, in advertising and other forms of integrated marketing communications. Now you'll remember when we looked at brand positioning a couple of sessions ago, we looked at the brand mantra, and I said to you at that point, don't confuse a brand mantra with a brand slogan. The brand mantra, if you remember, is for internal use within an organisation to make sure that everyone in the organisation knows what the brand is about, what its values are, what its purpose and function is in its marketplace. The slogan is different. They may be related, they may even have words in common, but they may be completely different. The slogan is an external device that communicates descriptive information about the brand or persuasive information about the brand designed to create an emotional response. Slogans are very, very powerful branding devices, very, very powerful brand elements. Just like brand names, they're extremely efficient, and they're a shorthand way of summing up a lot of information and therefore building brand equity. So L'Oreal, for many years, has used a slogan, because I'm worth it, because you're worth it, because we're worth it. McDonald's used the slogan, I'm loving it. And if you click through to this hyperlink that's popped up on the bottom left when you finish listening to the video, you'll be able to read some tips from professional experts on how to write good, catchy slogans that communicate efficiently and that stick in the mind of the customer. A jingle is really a musical equivalent of a slogan. It doesn't have any words, well, sometimes a few words, doesn't have to have words. Think of it as a musical message which is written around the brand. Now, jingles are composed usually by professional musicians, professional songwriters, and they are designed to be catchy, to have catchy hooks, catchy choruses, and to become almost permanently embedded in people's minds. And sometimes that can be whether they want them to be embedded there or not. And I'm sure you have perhaps found yourself whistling or humming a jingle that you'd listen to on a radio advertisement or a video or a TV advertisement earlier in the day, and it's got stuck in your head. Jingles are really valuable in enhancing brand awareness, helping to keep the brand in our mind. And there's some examples at the bottom there. The McDonald's I'm loving it slogan has a little jingle associated with it. Intel microprocessor chips that are used in computers. Intel has a little jingle, a little musical signature, which is always associated with the brand name. And on the right, you can click through to an article about the UK's catchiest advertising jingles. What are the jingles that have been most recognised, that have been considered by experts to be most successful in building and sustaining brand awareness? And our last brand element is packaging. Packaging is essential for tangible products like laundry detergent, as you can see on the right-hand side, but also some services have elements of packaging associated with them. You can't package the actual service itself because that's an intangible performance or experience that's sort of co-created between the customer and the service provider. But you can package elements, physical evidence. So for example, if you go to the hairdressers and have your hair cut, you may be given a gift of some shampoo or conditioner to take home in a lovely carrier bag that has the brand name of your hairdressing salon printed on it. That's a reminder to you that you've been to the salon, and as you're walking through town carrying it, other people see it and think, oh, that's a nice bag. Oh, I might go to that hairdresser. That looks like a classy place, a quality place. So packaging is relevant to services too, but is obviously more profoundly relevant to tangible goods. So from looking at it from the perspective of both the firm and the customers of the firm, packaging has to achieve a number of fundamental objectives. It has to identify the brand, so we have to be able to see the brand name. And we use colours very deliberately to help to identify the brand. So certain colours become associated with certain brands. The colour purple, for example, becoming associated with both Cadbury's chocolate and also to an extent with Milka chocolate. Packaging also can convey important information about the product. It might be very important to convey descriptive information. For example, if it is a pharmaceutical product, you need to have very clear information on how to take the product, when to take it, how often to take it, what not to do when you're taking it, and so on and so forth. So there can be important descriptive information which explains to the consumer how to use the product, what to do and what not to do, and indeed what to do if something goes wrong. There can be a customer helpline number or website or a QR code that the customer can use on their phone to get more information. But also packaging can convey persuasive information. It can create an image, it can create feelings. By the look and feel of the packaging, it can look very modern and high-tech and sleek and efficient, or it can look very heritage-oriented. It can look luxurious and special and signify high quality. So there are many ways in which information can be conveyed through packaging. And of course, a very fundamental role that packaging has to play is to allow us to take a product home from a shop, to allow us to transport it and to protect it while we're doing so. So we couldn't really carry laundry detergent home very easily from a store unless we took our own bottle without the packaging, if it was liquid, or the box if it was powder. And once we get the product home, the packaging helps us to store it. So it should be easy to open, easy to close, easy to put on a shelf. And indeed, if you look at the example bottom right, you can see how a dispenser has been developed for a large container of liquid laundry detergent. So that could stand on top of a washing machine and be easy to use. Press a button, fill the little cup and put the detergent into the machine before you start the wash. So this is adding benefits, adding value for the customer, making it easy for them to use. And of course, as we are using the product at home, we see the packaging, the brand name continues to be in our mind. So it is a reminder of what we have purchased. So when we go to buy again, we may buy the same brand next time. There are many things to take into consideration when designing packaging. And the reason that Pringles has popped up at the bottom of the screen will become apparent as we move through this slide. Keep thinking Pringles. First of all, there's the cost of the packaging. Packaging needs to not add so much to the cost of the product that it becomes too expensive for the customer. It puts it out of the target customer's price range. We have to balance aesthetics, what the packaging looks like, what it feels like, and functionality. If it is so complex, very beautiful, but very complicated, it may not be so functional. Packaging has to be tamper resistant. It has to allow a product to remain safe. It has to indicate when a product has been opened prior to purchase, so that we would know that potentially it has been damaged or tampered with and we wouldn't buy it. Packaging also needs to accommodate situations where there is a range of related products, a product line, and to allow consistency across that product range. There needs to be an ability to unify the packaging and tie it all together so that it becomes very clear to the customer that these products are related, that they exist across a range. Packaging plays a promotional role. We can convey information on the packaging about the fact that this is a new product, a new flavour, a new variety, that this is a larger size, that there's extra product available at a special offer. We can promote competitions that customers might enter on packaging. So there are many ways in which packaging can act as a medium for communicating in the integrated marketing communications mix. Packaging also has to meet the needs of distribution channel partners. It has to contain and protect the product. It has to do all the things that the brand owner wants in terms of promoting the brand and making it easy to use, but also the needs of resellers have to be taken into consideration. And this is where the Pringles example comes in. Pringles are packaged in these cylindrical tubes, which is distinctive. There is no other snack that is packaged in that way. It's completely unique. So that works very well for Pringles. There's lots of space on the tube to convey information, descriptive information and persuasive information. The brand slogan can be shown on the packaging, the brand character. There's a problem with Pringles though. The cylindrical tubes do not stack completely side by side on a shelf in a shop. There's wasted space between them. If you merchandise them horizontally, they roll around and fall on the floor and the product breaks. So they're not the most popular product with retailers and wholesalers and cash and carries, because they don't allow them to make maximum use of their shelf space, and the chances of the product being damaged because of the round shape and rolling around are actually quite high. And of course, we also need to consider the environment when packaging is being designed. Packaging should be environmentally responsible and wherever possible should use recycled materials and should be fully recyclable itself. So we have some examples here that illustrate some of these points. Here's a brand from the United States. It's a brand of tights or pantyhose called Legs, L''E''G''S. And the name relates to, we put tights and pantyhose on our legs, but also a play on words. The packaging is in the shape of an egg. Now the original pack is shown on the left, back from the 1970s, and it was a plastic egg that you unscrewed and the tights were inside. The problem with that was it became very expensive. Also being plastic, it wasn't very environmentally responsible, and it didn't really meet resellers' needs because you needed a special dispenser to store and merchandise all of the little plastic eggs in a shop. You couldn't just put them on a shelf. So after some time, that packaging was discarded, was disbanded, and the brand moved to more traditional flat pack packaging for the tights. But you can see that the legs and egg-shaped motif and symbol has been carried through to still make the link between legs and eggs. Tamper-proof packaging occurs in a wide range of product categories, but here is the example of Tylenol. And there was a very, very damaging event some time ago where a batch of Tylenol was tampered with in a deliberate and criminal way, and there were deaths as a result. And that really spurred on manufacturers to find ways of ensuring that packaging was tamper-proof. So when you buy something like paracetamol or aspirin or an over-the-counter analgesic like Tylenol, there are many layers of tamper-proofing on the box, on the lid, etc., to ensure that you know whether the product is safe to use or not. And here we have the example of consistency across a product range. We have the Terry's Chocolate Orange, an orange flavoured chocolate confectionery product. The original product is a round sphere, solid chocolate, orange flavoured, wrapped in orange foil, and then stored in a blue and orange cardboard box. But as the product line has been extended into bars and minis, you can see how elements of the packaging have been used consistently. The same colours, the same font, and the same symbols. So the product range ties together in a very consistent manner. And here we have Puma with its very clever little bag, which is made of recycled material and can be reused, can be turned into a bag. So it is the box that you take your Puma shoes home from the shop in, and it can be reused at home in a range of different ways. So it is recycled and reusable and recyclable. Sometimes organisations seek to benefit from the brand equity of leading brands by copying their packaging, lookalike packaging, which is deliberately designed to mislead customers into thinking that the unknown or lesser known brand is actually the brand leader. And you can see two examples here, tomato ketchup and ginger nut biscuits. In each case, the brand leader, Heinz tomato ketchup and McVitie's ginger nut biscuits, is being copied by organisations who are trying to piggyback on the existing brand equity. Now, interestingly, these lookalike packs are not illegal. You can see they don't use the McVitie's or the Heinz name. That would absolutely be illegal. The tomato ketchup examples don't use the tombstone, as it's called, label shape, because that has been trademarked. And they don't use the 57 varieties because that has been trademarked also. The bottle shapes are not identical, but they're very, very similar. And the two lookalikes are perfectly legal. They do not contravene. They're just different enough to be legal, and therefore they can be sold. Similarly with our biscuits, you can see how many brand elements, design elements from the name. So the name Ginger Nuts could not be trademarked. It's a type of biscuit, so McVitie's were not able to trademark that in law. So the copycat brand can use that name. You can see the picture of the biscuit is on the same side of the packaging. The word ginger nuts are written in white with a sloping font in a very similar way. So you can imagine how frustrating this is for the brand owner. They have spent millions of pounds developing, building and supporting and communicating their brand equity through their packaging, to have it copied in this way. But it's not something that can be stopped. There is nothing illegal in this. So putting it all together, the entire set of brand elements, the name, the logo, the symbol, the slogan, etc., makes up the brand identity. The brand identity is what the brand owner wants the brand to look like and sound like and feel like out there in the world. And the contribution that all these brand elements make when they come together is to build and support brand awareness and to create brand image. And the success of this depends really on the creativity and the meaningfulness of the brand elements, and these are things that we'll look at in part 2, but also simply on the extent to which brand elements are consistent. If brand elements are consistent, then a cohesive, coherent brand identity is built, and that is much, much more effective in creating awareness and developing brand image. So consistency of elements is critically important.